Hello, boys and girls. So we'll continue our story, our journey with Jesus as he's going to the cross. And this one is called Passed Around. And this is where he gets in front of the governors and all the important people. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure you all know. The priests and the Pharisees spent the night questioning Jesus. This is after he's been taken away. They asked him if he was the Messiah, the Son of God. And Jesus replied, "You have said so. But from now on you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of God." They were furious, but only the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate, could order his death. So they dragged him before Pilate. Although Pilate asked Jesus many questions, he could find no reason to put him to death. "But he's a troublemaker," the priests complained. "He started in Galilee and made his way here." When Pilate realized that Jesus was from Galilee, he saw a way to get rid of the problem, for Herod was in charge of that area. So Jesus was taken before Herod. But however many questions Herod asked, Jesus remained grave and silent. In the end, Herod grew tired of his silence. Then he and his soldiers made fun of Jesus before sending him back to Pilate. Pilate was under pressure to order the execution of Jesus, but there was a possible way out. During Passover, it was the custom to release one prisoner. At that time, there was a man named Barabbas in prison for rebellion and murder. Pilate called the priests and the people before him and asked who they wanted him to release. And the crowd answered, "Barabbas," for they were told to say this. "What shall I do with the one called King of the Jews?" Pilate asked. "Crucify him," roared the crowd. "But why?" continued Pilate. "What crime?" But the crowd only shouted all the louder. Pilate didn't want to order the execution, but neither did he want a riot. He sent for a bowl of water and washed his hands in it to show that he took no responsibility for Jesus' death. Then he released Barabbas and had Jesus handed over to be crucified. Jesus was taken away by the soldiers. "Since you are the King of the Jews, let's dress you for the occasion," they mocked. And they dressed him in a purple robe, the color worn by kings, and put a crown of thorny branches upon his head. Then they beat him and spat in his face before putting him back in his own clothes and leading him through the streets towards Golgotha, the place where he was to be crucified. They made him carry a wooden cross on his back, but it was large and heavy, and Jesus had been dreadfully beaten. When he could do it no longer, they snatched someone out of the crowd to carry it for him. And so the dreadful procession made its way out of the city to the hill of Golgotha. Soldiers nailed his hands and his feet to the cross and placed above his head a sign saying, "Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews." As they raised the cross, Jesus cried, "Father, forgive them. They don't know what they are doing." 2 thieves were crucified beside him. The first sneered at him, but the other said, "Be quiet. We deserve our punishment. But this man has done nothing wrong." Then he turned to Jesus and said, "Please remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus promised he would be with him that day in paradise. The guards drew lots to see who would win Jesus' clothes, while the priests and the Pharisees taunted him. "If you come down from the cross now, we'll believe in you," they mocked. At midday, a shadow passed across the sun, and darkness fell over the land for 3 long hours. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" Then he gave a great cry, "It is finished." And with these words, he gave up his spirit. At that moment, the earth shook, and the curtain in the holy temple was torn from top to bottom. When the Roman soldiers felt the ground move beneath their feet and saw how Jesus passed away, they were deeply shaken. "Surely he was the Son of God," whispered one in amazement. Because the next day was to be a special Sabbath, the Jewish leaders didn't want the bodies left on the crosses, and they asked Pilate to have them taken down. A man named Joseph of Arimathea asked permission to take Jesus' body away. Jesus' friends carefully wrapped the body in linen and spices and placed it in a tomb that Joseph had built for himself. Then they rolled a large stone in front of the entrance to the tomb and sadly left. But the very next day, the chief priests and the Pharisees went to Pilate and asked him to place a guard on the tomb to seal it, for they remembered that when he was alive, Jesus had said, "After 3 days I will rise again." They believed that the disciples might come and steal the body and then tried to persuade the people that he had been risen from the dead. Pilate told them to make the tomb secure, and they did. Early on the first day of the week, before the sun had fully risen, Mary Magdalene and some other women went to anoint Jesus' body. As they came near the tomb, the earth shook, the guards were thrown to the ground, and the women saw that the stone had been rolled away from the entrance, and inside, shining brighter than the sun, was an angel. The terrified women fell to their knees, but the angel said, "Why are you looking for the living among the dead? He is not here, he has risen. Don't you remember that he told you this would happen? Look and see. Then go and tell his disciples that he will meet them in Galilee, as he promised." So the women hurried away to tell the disciples the news, afraid yet filled with joy. Mary Magdalene stood outside the tomb. Peter and one of the other disciples had come, had seen the stripes of linen, and had left in wonder and confusion. Now she was alone. She missed Jesus so much. Just then she heard steps behind her. A man asked, "Woman, why are you crying? Who are you looking for?" Thinking this must be the gardener, she begged, "Sir, if you have moved him, please tell me where he is, and I will get him." The man only spoke her name, Mary, but instantly she spun around. She recognized that clear, gentle voice. "Teacher," she gasped and reached out towards him. Jesus said, "Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father. Go and tell the others." So Mary rushed off with the amazing news that she had seen Jesus alive. That same day, 2 of Jesus' followers were traveling along a dusty road from Jerusalem to a village. They couldn't stop talking about the last couple of days. Soon another man approached them and asked, "What were you talking about?" "Where have you been?" they asked in amazement, and went on to tell him excitedly all about Jesus, the amazing things he had taught, and the miracles he performed. Then, more soberly, they told of his death and his disappearance from the tomb. "How slow you are to believe what the prophets told you," said the stranger. "Don't you see that the Messiah had to suffer these things and then enter his glory?" He began to talk to them about everything that they had seen in the scriptures about Jesus. They were enthralled, for he made everything so clear. At the village, they urged him to dine with him. As they were eating, he took some bread and, giving thanks for it, broke it into pieces and handed it to them. Suddenly they realized who this stranger really was, Jesus himself, and then he vanished. The friends hurried back to Jerusalem. They couldn't wait to tell the other disciples the good news. That's what happened after Jesus rose. He came back to visit with them. So I'm glad you listened to our story. Thank you. Bye for now.